Hey guys, Brew here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you about the latest from Full House Brew crew, Knuckle, out November 27th on Rock of Angels Records. This album has 10 tracks, 36 minutes in length, and this is the band's third full-length studio album. Before we get started with the review, I want to give you guys a very brief bio. These guys are from Greece. They're a groove metal band that's heavily influenced by American groove metal bands, and it features Vangelis on both vocals and guitars, former Rotting Christ, currently with Wolfheart. Now that you have an idea what to expect from this band, from the sound on this album, let's get into the review. This album has an old school structure to it. It's an album that's divided into two halves, and in the middle there's a ballad that really breaks the routine. It breaks the mechanisms of the record and allows the album to give the listener a chance to catch his breath, to go up for air, if you will, and move itself away from the routines of the first half and the routines of the second half of the record. Both halves are very equal, they're very balanced, they have a lot of the same elements, a lot of the same mechanisms. I felt perhaps from a song construction perspective there's a few changes in the second half, but from an overall soundscape the album is extremely balanced across both. So having the ballad in the middle is extremely necessary in order to break the routines, in order to give the listener a chance to reset itself for what's coming next. If you don't have a song like that breaking the album becomes repetitive. You start to feel like every song sounds the same, sounds alike, and it's coming at you from the same angle. So this structure is perfect. It allows the overall fluidity of the album to not be overly impacted by that change because it's just one track right in the middle, and it allows the record to have the ability to stay connected with the listener across both halves and still be engaging with every single song. Now, as far as soundscape is concerned, I already touched on it. This is a groove metal band, so you're going to get a groove metal album. But this is not just a groove metal album. The sound on this record also blends in other elements of hard rock, more melodic approaches, and it's definitely a record that it's easy to digest. It has an easy listening approach to how the songs were constructed, how the vocals are used, the lyrics, making it very catchy and very hooky with every single song. I felt that they were trying to create an album that is heavy on one hand, but still radio friendly on the other. Not an easy road to walk down. It's not easy to balance those two worlds, and most often than not, you're going to have the record either go more towards one side or more towards the other. For me, as far as the sound is concerned, I felt that they found the balance of creating an album that is heavy, that has some bite, that has some aggression, has some intensity, but at the same time, the listener can easily walk through this record, go from song to song, and you'll find that the songs, like I said before, are easy to digest, are easy to listen to, and become hooky and catchy at every single turn because of all the elements that are coming together. It's not just one element that makes them catchy and hooky. It's a combination of different elements: construction, lyrics, choruses, melodies. Now, within the sound itself, we have to talk about the guitars because they play a huge role in the overall experience. If you have a groove metal album, you have to talk about the guitars because they are the originators of that groove. They're really the element that pushes the record forward and allows the album to be what it needs to be. And that's exactly what you're going to get on this record. The guitars really drive the sound, they really drive the melodies, and they drive the direction of the tracks and then obviously of the overall record. And I like the sound on the guitars. It's chunky at times, it's groovy, it has thickness to it, and it really kicks in and it packs a punch as it moves along on every single song. Most of the times it changes from verses into chorus. The guitars morph into a more direct melodic approach in the chorus. More often than not, that's going to be the case. But overall, they really feel thick to the ears. They really have a lot of volume, a lot of presence, a lot of layers to it, matching perfectly well with the overall design that they had for the soundscape on this record. Having said that, we can't forget about the drums and bass because they create the foundation in which everything else is built upon. The guitars only sound as thick, they only sound as powerful, they only sound that they have that much of a bite because of the substance that the drums and bass are giving to the record. They're really allowing this album to have this perfect foundation, this perfect path, and then the guitars come on top of it and just bulldoze their way through it. That's the sound construction of this record, and it's balanced in that approach. You're going to get that same style, that same formula song after song after song, so it's consistent from that perspective, but not necessarily repetitive, because while the elements are the same, the combination of them changes from track to track. Vocally, Vangelis is the perfect guy for this sound, for this record. I felt like he had the perfect tone, the perfect delivery. His voice is almost as gritty, as chunky as the guitars are. And he changes ever so slightly. He doesn't have just one approach. I felt more often than not he changed more going into the chorus to add a little bit more melody, to change the delivery, to make the song a little bit more palpable, to make the song a little bit more hooky, a little bit more catchy. So it shows you a little bit of what he can do vocally, that he's not just stuck at one speed and one gear. He can easily change between styles, between approaches, and that's really important in order to allow the songs to be more dynamic, in order to allow the songs to flow better, it being more engaging with the listener. Overall, I enjoy the record. The only issue that I have is that I felt that this album needed at least 2 to 3 songs that were just heavy, just bangers, just pedal to the metal, tons of aggression, tons of heaviness, almost brutal at times. That would be the perfect reset every so often for this album. They tried to combine aggression, melody, all together to create this groove metal, radio-friendly sound. It works. It does work across the whole record. But in my personal opinion, it lacks some bite at times. You need one song here and there, maybe one song on each of those 2 halves, just to really ignite the listener, just to give you a punch to the gut, if you will, and change the eyesight, change the routines, change the dynamics of the album. You don't need to change too much, but 1 to 2 songs with a little bit more bite, less easier to digest, less radio friendly, in my opinion, would have balanced out the record a lot better. But that's not exactly what they had in mind. I really feel like they wanted to walk this fine line, and if that's the case, they achieved it. But for my own personal taste, I would like to see 2 songs with a little bit more bite. Nailing You, for example, is a song that has a lot of heaviness to it, still a little bit melodic in the chorus. I would have liked to see more songs like that and strip away that melody from the chorus and just allow the song to be heavy all the way through. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I can start off with Nailing You. It's one of the heavier tracks on the album, and it's definitely one of the songs that I gravitated to because of that heaviness that it has. The verses are definitely more punchy. They have a lot more strength to them. The chorus is more melodic. This is pretty much the DNA of the band and how they construct their songs, and it's definitely on display in this track. So it's a song that has a lot of kick. It's heavy. It moves along at a great pace. As it moves into the chorus, it changes, becomes slightly more melodic, and it changes the direction of the track. Overall, it doesn't take away from the heaviness that the song has. It still feels like a very heavy song all around, but the chorus, it changes ever so slightly the perception that you have of the track, allowing to be, once again, a little bit more easy to digest, if you will. Next, Bare Knuckle. This track has an incredible guitar sound. I love the thickness of the volume. I love how it comes at you. It just feels very powerful. It's not necessarily heavy from a perspective of having a lot of strength in the guitars and how they sound and the bite that they have, but it's heavy from an overall volume perspective. The overall volume within this track is really what dictates the heaviness of the song itself. The verses push the song forward. They have a more direct approach. The chorus has a different style, has a different vibe, more melodic, more groovier, changes the eyesight of the listener. It takes you into a different arena, becoming hooky and catchy, which is exactly what they want to construct songs that have the ability to be heavy and still radio friendly at the same time. This song is definitely a perfect example of that. The solo comes after the second chorus, and it merges a little bit of the heaviness that the track has, at least in terms of the intensity of the solo, with the overall melody that the chorus has. Those 2 elements come together to deliver the perfect guitar solo at the perfect time. And then as you navigate through this song, and the more you become familiar with the album, the more you realize that this track, Bare Knuckle, is a pure representation of the overall essence of this record. This song is a synopsis of what the whole album has to offer as far as sound, as far as vocals, as far as track construction is concerned. Last but not least, Buried Hope, that ballad in the middle of the record that breaks the album into 2. I love the sound, I love the approach, definitely more mellow, more stripped down, almost, it really has a very stripped down feeling, almost melancholic at times in the verses, and then it absolutely explodes into the chorus. This is the DNA of a ballad for a groove metal band. If you're a groove metal band and you want to put a ballad together for your record, this is the style, this is the approach, this is the sound that you want to have in it. Feels almost like the prototypical ballad for a band that has this sort of approach, this sort of sound in their records. So I love this sound, I love this song, I love where it is in the record, right in the middle, giving you a chance to breathe, giving you a chance to go up for air, breaking the album into two. And it's a song that has a lot of heart, has a lot of emotional built into the lyrics and into the delivery from Vangelis on vocals, changing ever so slightly from a more methodic approach in the verses to a more direct and melodic and aggressive approach in the chorus. This is it, guys. This is Full House Brew Crew with Bare Knuckle, out November 27th on Rock of Angels Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.